My sister sold our mom's belongings without asking. One receipt changed everything. Before we continues, please subscribe and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support helps this powerful, life-changing story reach the world. The taxi pulled up to the curb and my heart sank into my stomach. I had been dreading this moment for the entire 6-hour flight. The house, usually a beacon of warmth with its blooming hydrangeas and soft yellow siding, looked lifeless. The curtains were drawn tight and the front lawn, which my mother had tended to with obsessive care, was littered with tire tracks. It had only been 3 days since Mom passed away from a sudden heart attack. I had dropped everything at my job in Chicago to come home to Seattle, expecting to find a house full of memories and a sister ready to grieve with me. Instead, as I stepped out of the cab and dragged my suitcase up the driveway, I felt a hollow silence. There was no wreath on the door. No lights on the porch. I fumbled for my keys, my hands shaking. I hadn't seen my sister Karen in over a year. We had never been close. She was the wild one, the one who always needed money, while I was the boring, responsible one. I hoped that tragedy would bridge the gap between us. I hoped we could sit in Mom's kitchen, drink tea and cry together. But when I unlocked the door and pushed it open, the smell hit me first. It wasn't the scent of Mom's lavender potpourri. It was the smell of industrial cleaner and empty space. I dropped my suitcase in the hallway. The thud echoed loudly, too loudly. I walked into the living room and gasped. It was gone. Everything was gone. The vintage velvet sofa where Mom used to read to us was missing. The antique oak coffee table, the grandfather clock that had been in our family for 4 generations, the shelves lined with first edition books. All of it had vanished. The room was a barren box of hardwood floors and bare walls. Panic rose in my chest, hot and suffocating. Had we been robbed? Had someone broken in while Karen was at the funeral home? Karen! I screamed, running toward the kitchen. Karen, are you here? The kitchen was stripped bare too. The copper pots were gone from the hanging rack. The table was missing. Sitting on the counter, eating a slice of pizza from a cardboard box, was my sister. She looked up, unbothered, wiping grease from her lip. Oh, hey Lily, she said casually, as if I had just walked in from a grocery run. You're early. I thought your flight landed at 8. She didn't stand up. She didn't hug me. She just took another bite of pizza. Where is everything? I choked out. Where is Mom's stuff? Karen shrugged, tossing the pizza crust back into the box. I got rid of it, she said simply. I called a liquidation company yesterday. They came and cleared it out this morning. My knees felt weak. I had to lean against the counter to stop from falling. You sold it? All of it. It was just junk, Lily, Karen said, rolling her eyes. Dusty old furniture, clothes that smelled like mothballs. I didn't want to deal with it. I figured you wouldn't want to deal with it either. I saved us the hassle. Hassle? I shouted, my voice cracking. That wasn't junk. That was Mom's life. The grandfather clock was worth thousands. The jewelry. The paintings. Karen hopped off the counter, dusting crumbs off her jeans. Look, I needed to pay for the funeral, okay? Funerals are expensive. I got a lump sum for the lot. It covers the cremation and leaves a little bit for the bills she left behind. You should be thanking me. I did the heavy lifting. She walked past me, patting my shoulder patronizingly. Don't be so dramatic. It's just things. Mom is gone. Holding on to old chairs won't bring her back. I stood in the empty kitchen, trembling with rage. It wasn't about the money. It was about the memories. I wanted to keep Mom's locket. I wanted the quilt she had hand-stitched for my graduation. I wanted to smell her perfume on her scarves. Karen had robbed me of the chance to say goodbye to our history. How much? I asked, turning to face her. How much did you get for 80 years of life? Karen hesitated for a split second, then crossed her arms. $5,000, she said. For everything. Including the car. 5,000. I repeated. The car alone was a 2020 Camry. It was worth 20,000 easily. It had engine trouble, Karen lied smoothly. I could tell she was lying. She had that same look she used to get when we were kids, and she stole money from Dad's wallet. And the furniture was scratched. The guy did me a favor by hauling it away. She checked her phone. Look, I'm tired. I'm going to stay at my boyfriend's place tonight. You can sleep here on the floor, I guess. Or get a hotel. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. We can talk about the estate paperwork tomorrow. Karen left, the front door slamming shut with a finality that made me flinch. I was alone in the empty house. I walked from room to room looking for anything she might have missed. The closets were bare. The drawers were empty. Even the bathroom cabinets had been cleared out. I felt like a ghost haunting my own childhood. I sat down in the middle of the living room floor and cried until my eyes burned. How could she do this? How could she be so cold? As the sun went down, the house grew dark and cold. I realized I had nowhere to sleep. I curled up on my coat in the corner, but sleep was impossible. My mind was racing. $5,000. It didn't add up. Mom had a collection of silver coins. She had diamond earrings. She had antique rugs. A liquidation company wouldn't just give $5,000 for a house full of assets unless they were scammers, or unless Karen was lying about the total. I knew my sister. She was always looking for a quick buck. She had probably pocketed the cash and was planning to skip town. I needed to find out who she sold it to. I needed to get our things back. The next morning I woke up with a stiff neck and a headache. I decided to start investigating. I checked the driveway and the garage. Nothing. Then I went around to the side of the house where the large recycling and trash bins were kept. The trash truck came on Thursdays and today was Wednesday. If Karen had thrown anything away during her cleanup, it would still be there. I opened the blue recycling bin. It was empty. She must have been thorough. I opened the gray trash bin. It was mostly full of takeout containers, coffee cups, and bubble wrap. Lots of bubble wrap. Why would a liquidation company use bubble wrap? Usually they just throw things in a truck. I dug deeper, ignoring the smell of old pizza. At the bottom of the bin, under a greasy pizza box, I found a crumpled ball of paper. I pulled it out and smoothed it against the side of the bin. It was a receipt. But it wasn't from a junk hauler. It was from a place called the Packaging Post, a local shipping store. I held the receipt up to the sunlight. It was dated 2 days ago, the day after Mom died. It was for the shipment of a single package. The weight was listed as 12 pounds. The destination was New York City. But what caught my eye was the insurance. Karen had purchased shipping insurance for the package. The declared value of the item was $250,000. I stared at the number, blinking to make sure I wasn't seeing things. $250,000. My breath hitched. Mom didn't have anything worth $250,000. Did she? We were middle class. We lived comfortably but not luxuriously. Unless there was something I didn't know about. And Karen had found it. She hadn't sold the house contents for $5,000. She had found one incredibly valuable thing, shipped it off, and then sold the rest for scraps to cover her tracks. The receipt had a tracking number. I pulled out my phone and typed it in. Status: delivered. Signed for by J. Sterling Auction House, NYC. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped my phone. Sterling Auction House. That wasn't a pawn shop. That was one of the most prestigious auction houses in the world. Karen had sent something to an auction house in New York. I looked at the receipt again. Item description: ceramic/art. Ceramic. My mind raced back to Mom's house. What ceramic did we have? The plates. The mugs. And then I remembered. The ugly blue vase. It sat in the hallway corner for as long as I could remember. Mom used it to hold umbrellas. Sometimes when it rained it would be filled with muddy water. We used to make fun of it. We called it the dragon pot because it had faint drawings of dragons on it. Mom always said she bought it at a garage sale in the 80s for $10. He just liked the color. Surely that couldn't be it? But it was about the right size. And it weighed about 12 pounds. Could our umbrella stand be a hidden treasure? I dialed the number for Sterling Auction House immediately. A polite woman answered. Sterling Auctions, how may I direct your call? Hi, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I'm calling about a package that was delivered yesterday. Tracking number ending in 4452. It was sent by Karen Miller. There was a pause. One moment, please. Let me connect you to our acquisitions department. I waited on hold for what felt like an eternity, listening to classical music. Finally, a man with a British accent picked up. This is Jonathan Sterling. To whom am I speaking? My name is Lily Miller. My sister Karen sent you a package. I believe it's a blue vase. Ah, yes, Jonathan said, his voice animating. The Ming Dynasty vase. An exquisite piece. We were shocked to receive it in a cardboard box, frankly. Usually, items of this caliber are transported via armored courier. Ming Dynasty? I whispered. Is it real? It appears to be, he said. We have it listed for the emergency auction tomorrow. Your sister was very insistent on a quick sale. Stop the sale, I blurted out. You have to stop the sale. I beg your pardon? Jonathan sounded confused. That vase belongs to the estate of my mother who passed away 3 days ago. My sister does not have the sole authority to sell it. She stole it from the house. Silence stretched on the line. Ms. Miller, this is a serious accusation. Your sister provided documentation claiming the item was a gift to her. She lied, I said firmly. My mother died intestate without a will. That means the estate is split 50-50. If you sell that vase, you are trafficking stolen property. I have a lawyer and I will be contacting the police. I see, Jonathan said, his tone cooling instantly. In that case, we will place a temporary hold on the lot pending legal clarification. You have 24 hours to provide proof of your claim, or we proceed with the seller's instructions. He hung up. I stood in the driveway, my heart pounding like a drum. I had 24 hours. I needed a lawyer and I needed to confront Karen. But first I needed proof that the vase was part of the estate. I needed photos. I scrolled through my phone. I had thousands of pictures of Mom, the cats, the garden. I frantically swiped back years. Christmas 2018. Thanksgiving 2015. There was a photo of Mom standing in the hallway holding a birthday cake. In the background, clear as day, was the blue vase. And sticking out of it was a bright yellow umbrella. It was proof that the item lived in the house. It was proof it was household property, not a gift Karen kept at her place. I screenshot the photo and emailed it to myself. Then I looked up estate lawyers in Seattle. I found one with good reviews, Mr. Henderson. I called him and explained the situation. Meet me in an hour, he said. And bring the receipt. I met Mr. Henderson at a coffee shop halfway to the city. He was an older man with kind eyes and a sharp suit. I showed him the receipt from the trash and the photo on my phone. This is good, he said, nodding. This receipt proves she shipped it after the death. The declared value proves she knew it wasn't just junk. And the lack of a will means she has committed fraud against the estate. What do we do? I asked. We file an emergency injunction, he said. I'll draft it now. We stop the auction. Then we freeze her assets. If she sold the furniture for cash, that money is likely gone. But the vase. That's the big ticket. We can save that. He looked at me seriously. But you need to know this will likely result in criminal charges for your sister. Are you prepared for that? I thought about Karen eating pizza while telling me she threw Mom's life away. I thought about the $5,000 lie. Yes, I said. Do it. Armed with the lawyer's plan, I went back to the house to wait for Karen. She showed up around 2 p.m., driving a brand new convertible. A red convertible. She pulled into the driveway blaring music. She stepped out wearing designer sunglasses and holding expensive shopping bags. She had spent the junk money fast. Or maybe she had taken an advance on the vase. She walked in, startled to see me sitting on the floor. You're still here? She asked, annoyed. I thought you'd be gone. I'm not going anywhere, Karen, I said calmly. Nice car. Did you get that with the $5,000? She shifted uncomfortably. I took out a loan. Based on my future inheritance. What inheritance? I asked. You said there was nothing left. There's life insurance, she stammered. Mom had a small policy. Another lie. Mom canceled her policy years ago to save money. Karen, I said, standing up. I found the receipt. Her face went pale. What receipt? The one from the packaging post. Tracking number 4452. The one for the Ming Dynasty vase you shipped to New York. Karen dropped her shopping bags. The sunglasses slid down her nose. I don't know what you're talking about. I spoke to Jonathan Sterling. I continued, stepping closer. The auction is halted. The police are on their way to take a report for grand larceny. Karen's eyes widened in terror. You called the police? On your own sister. You stole from our mother. I yelled. You stole $250,000 and tried to give me nothing. It wasn't stealing. Karen screamed back, her face twisting into something ugly. Mom hated that vase. She used it for umbrellas. I'm the one who watched Antiques Roadshow. I'm the one who realized what it might be. I did the research. I deserve the money. You deserve half, I said. That's the law. But instead you lied. You sold everything else to hide it. Where's Mom's locket? Where are the photos? I tossed them, she shrieked. I needed the house empty so I could sell it fast. The real estate agent said empty houses sell quicker. I need the cash, Lily. I have debts. Bad debts. She started crying, but they were tears of self-pity, not remorse. These guys, they're going to hurt me if I don't pay them. A police cruiser pulled up to the curb. Mr. Henderson had been efficient. Karen looked out the window and panicked. Lily, please. You have to tell them it was a misunderstanding. Tell them I had permission. I'll give you half. I'll give you 70%. Just don't let them arrest me. I looked at her, this stranger who shared my blood. She had destroyed our family history to pay off gambling debts or whatever mess she was in. She had treated Mom's death as a payday. I can't do that, Karen, I said softly. You made your choice when you threw that receipt in the trash. The officers knocked on the door. I opened it. We received a call about a theft involving an estate, the officer said. I nodded and stepped aside. This is my sister. She attempted to sell a high-value asset belonging to the estate without authorization. Karen was sobbing now, sitting on the floor amidst her designer bags. They questioned us separately. I showed them the receipt, the photo, and the email from my lawyer. Karen tried to lie, but her story fell apart instantly. She admitted to the shipping. She admitted to the intent to sell. They arrested her for fraud and theft. Watching my sister be handcuffed in our childhood living room was a surreal nightmare, but I felt numb. With Karen in custody, the immediate chaos settled. Mr. Henderson worked his magic. The auction house agreed to return the vase to the estate. It would be sold properly, legally, and the funds would be held in a trust until the probate court decided the distribution. Since Karen had attempted to defraud the estate, Mr. Henderson said it was likely she would be disinherited entirely, or at least her share would be used to pay back the value of the other items she had thrown away. I stayed in the empty house for a week. I hired a private investigator to track down the liquidation company Karen had used. It turned out to be a shady pawn shop owner she knew. We managed to recover the grandfather clock and a box of jewelry he hadn't melted down yet. I had to buy them back, but it was worth it. The vase sold at auction a month later. It went for way more than the estimate. A bidding war broke out between a museum in China and a private collector in London. The final hammer price was $1.2 million. It was life-changing money. But looking at the check, all I could think about was the yellow umbrella that used to sit inside that $1 million artifact. Karen pleaded guilty to a lesser charge to avoid prison time. She got probation and community service, but the judge ruled that her actions forfeited her right to the inheritance. He was furious. She sent me hateful letters from her boyfriend's apartment, blaming me for ruining her life. I never responded. I used the money to buy the house from the estate. I couldn't bear to sell it. I renovated it, fixing the roof and the garden. I brought back the grandfather clock and placed it in its original spot. I hunted down similar furniture to what Mom had, trying to recreate the warmth she had built. One afternoon, while cleaning out the attic, the one place Karen hadn't touched because she was afraid of spiders, I found a box. Inside were the photo albums. Karen hadn't thrown them away, she just hadn't looked for them. I sat on the dusty floor and flipped through the pages. There was Mom. There was Dad. And there were Karen and me sitting on the front porch smiling. I framed the receipt. Not the original, the police kept that as evidence, but a copy. I hung it in the hallway where the blue vase used to stand. It was a reminder. A reminder that greed can blind you to the things that really matter. A reminder that the truth always has a way of coming out, sometimes in the form of a crumpled piece of paper in a trash can. The house was quiet now, but it wasn't empty. It was filled with the peace of knowing I had done right by my mother. I had saved her legacy. And even though I had lost a sister, I had found my own strength. I walked into the kitchen, made a cup of tea, and sat at the new table. The sun poured in through the window, warm and bright. I was home. 6 months later, I received a letter from the court. The probate was officially closed. The final accounting was done. Because I was the sole beneficiary now, the remaining funds were transferred to me. It was a staggering amount. I quit my job in Chicago. I decided to start a foundation in Mom's name, helping elderly people protect their assets from predatory relatives and scams. I also hired a curator to help track down the rest of the items Karen had sold. We found the dining room table in a vintage shop in Portland. We found Mom's favorite painting in a flea market. Piece by piece, I was putting the puzzle of our life back together. I ran into Karen once at the grocery store. She looked tired. She was working the checkout line. She saw me and froze. I saw the flash of anger in her eyes, followed by shame. She didn't say anything. She just scanned my apples and handed me the receipt. "Thanks," I said, taking the slip of paper. "Keep the change." I walked out, head held high. I didn't hate her anymore. I just felt sorry for her. She had held a fortune in her hands, not the vase but the family, and she had thrown it away for a quick payout. The foundation took off. We helped hundreds of families. I told my story at seminars. I always started with the slide of the blue vase and the yellow umbrella. Got a laugh every time. But then I would show the receipt. And the room would go silent. "This," I would tell them, "is the most valuable piece of paper I ever found. Not because of the number on it, but because it told the truth when no one else would." It was a lesson in attention to detail. A lesson in trust. And a lesson in justice. Tonight the house is full. I'm hosting a dinner for the foundation's board. The grandfather clock chimes 8. The conversation is lively. The smell of lavender potpourri fills the air. I look at the corner of the hallway. I bought a new vase. It's clear glass, simple and inexpensive. Inside there is a bright yellow umbrella. I smile. Mom would have loved it. She never cared about the Ming Dynasty or the millions. She just wanted a place to put her umbrella when it rained. And now she has one. The receipt changed everything, yes. But it didn't change the love that built this home. That Karen couldn't sell. That was mine to keep. Forever.